Welcome to the conference. This is AMI Inside.
It's really important for people with disabilities to gather.
It's going to take all of us to stand up and be united.
This is about equal access. It's about inclusive design.
Edmonton, Alberta is the location for the first ever accessibility conference and forum hosted by Voice of Albertans with Disabilities.
We've cried, we've shouted. In my case, we've used profanity.
Melanie Patterson is the group's executive director.
But above all, we've certainly persevered in our vision of ensuring that there is accessibility for all.
Voice of Albertans with Disabilities has actually been around since 1973. In 1973, it was known as the Alberta Committee of Citizens with Disabilities. It started by a group of individuals with disabilities wanting to gain some human rights in terms of accessibility. The conference has grown out of meetings that we've been holding for the last 5-6 years, and we called them the Alberta Disability Forum meetings. And the Alberta Disability Forum is a collection of 70-odd advocacy organizations across Alberta that address supports and services for individuals with disabilities. We've taken that model and we decided this year to try and see what we could do with a conference. The delegates that are attending the conference would be individuals from across Alberta and across Canada, actually, that are individuals with disabilities. Some of their families come, allies. It's everyone that's interested in inclusion for all.
It's in our collective action that we have finally arrived at the possibility of a Canadian accessibility bill.
One topic front and center is Bill C-81.
The long road to equality rights for Canadians with disabilities. Bill C-81, the Accessible Canada Act.
Steve Estey is the Community and Government Relations Officer with the Council of Canadians with Disabilities. As a deaf person in a hearing world and a long-time disability advocate, he's well aware of the importance of this legislation.
The bill, once it's enacted, will move to create a series of standards in areas where the federal government is active. So we talk about communications, transportation, banking, things like that. We recognize that when you make something accessible, it's not just a person with the impairment that benefits. It's something that really benefits a whole lot of people. So that when you move to a space where you have a basis of universal design, whether it's in the built environment, whether it's in communication technology, whether it's banking, whatever it might be, not just people with disabilities, but really the whole community benefits. So I think that while Bill C-81 is something that's being driven by the disability community here in Canada, what we're going to find in 20 years' time, once Bill C-81 has had time to do its work, is that the whole of the community has benefited from this. The Liberals who won the election made a promise, and they have worked since that time to fulfill that promise. And I want to talk a little bit about the details of that, because I think it's important that you have a sense of it. As we were talking in a meeting the other day in Ottawa about the fact that we're concerned that some MPs these days, as we move forward with this, are seeing this Accessible Canada Act as a little bit of fluff and feel-good legislation that the Liberals are putting on just before an election so they can say, hey, we've done a nice thing here. But in fact, it's our view, those of us who've been involved in the process, that a significant amount of time and energy and resource has been brought to bear on this legislation, and we feel we've got some good results. So I want to quickly talk about what's happened between 2015 and now, because it's been a very big process. So first of all, in 2015, the federal government appointed Carla Qualtrough as the Minister of People with Disabilities. And they charged her in her mandate letter to make sure that an Accessible Canada Act, or however it was called at that time, was enacted during the course of this government's mandate. So Minister Qualtrough and her predecessors, and now once again Minister Qualtrough, have been responsible for this since 2015. And that has meant a few things. First of all, in 2016, it meant that the federal government conducted a series of consultations across the country. The federal government did, I think, 13 consultations across the country with disability organizations and individuals. And also they hosted a number of roundtables on specific areas of accessibility. So the federal government collected all this information in 2016. They took that information and began to work internally to draft the legislation that has become Bill C-81. But that's not all they did. They also said, you know, the disability community needs time to think about this itself so that it can engage with us as a government when a time comes, when it comes before Parliament. So they provided funding for 8 different clusters of disability and Indigenous organizations to do consultations over the course of 2017. After that, there was a report written to talk about what they heard, and the government worked internally to develop legislation. But at the same time, to their credit again, the government also said at this time, we think it's important that disability organizations also engage in discussions around this. So they provided funding for 7 or 8 disability organizations and Indigenous peoples organizations to consult with Canadians about what an accessibility act should look like. So my organization, the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, was one of 8 different groups that did these consultations. The federal government, through 2017 and early 2018, drafted the first draft of this accessibility legislation, Bill C-81. So we have the Bill C-81 as it exists now, and then we had the summer, and our organizations that had done all of this consultation had the summer to carefully study the legislation and say, this is what we like and this is what we don't like. These are where we think you're doing good things, and this is where we think there need to be changes. And now we're at a point where there's a hearings process going on where the government is beginning to listen to our organizations. This is something that our community has been talking about for a very long time. It's a great opportunity, and it's important for people to be involved. I, for one, as a Canadian with a disability, am absolutely fascinated by this and feel really quite emboldened and empowered by the fact that legislators are talking specifically about these things in a very detailed way in the House of Commons. I've never seen this kind of thing before, and I think it's very empowering for us as a community. There will be third reading and there will be a vote, and it will go from there to the Senate. And the Senate will go through a similar process of hearings and will be able to testify again and call for further amendments if we believe they are necessary. Then the Senate will sign off on the bill and send it back to the House. And we hope very much, and this is something that you need to keep in mind, we hope very much that this will happen in time for the bill to be passed finally by the House of Commons, and royal assent needs to be given before the House rises in order for the bill to become a law. If that doesn't happen, if we stall it, if people raise too many red flags, if things happen, then things can get pushed back, and it might be that the bill just dies on the order paper. And that, after all the work that I've described to you that we've been involved with, would be a tremendous, tremendous loss. The thing that we need to do now over the next few months is remind our parliamentarians, our members of parliament, senators, just how important this is to us. So I invite you to talk to your MPs and senators over the course of the next few months. Tell them this is important to you and tell them why. So that's my bit about Bill C-81, why I think it's important and why I think it's valuable for our community. Thank you very much.
Next,
When you are living with schizophrenia, you're never really alone.
the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta presents the powerful stage performance Starry Night. Stay with us.
AMI Inside will return. This is AMI Inside.
The medications have come a long way since my diagnosis. How long have I had it? Well, let's just say that when I was diagnosed, you could still smoke in the hospital.
Originally created in 1998, Starry Night was conceived and written by a group of individuals living with schizophrenia.
It's a brain disorder. No one knows where it comes from or what sets it off.
12 members of the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta, most with lived experience, have come to the conference to tell their story and give the audience a glimpse into what it's like to live with the disorder.
You don't have to talk to me, but it does help to pass the time and make you feel like you're not alone. When you are living with schizophrenia, you're never really alone. There's this guy I should introduce to you to. His name's David, and I met him about 5-6 years ago.
Scene 2, a park.
You're the smartest, cutest, funniest person I know. If you don't want to talk, we can just sit and look at the stars.
She's only saying that to be nice. She thinks you're stupid. She thinks you're ugly. She doesn't like you, David. No one likes you.
David, you're shivering. What's going on? Are you cold? Maybe we should go.
She's a spy. She's gonna take you to her boss. Don't get in the car.
What do you think?
She's trying to read your mind.
Why do you want to know what I'm thinking?
Just curious.
She's a spy, David. Run!
Who sent you?
Sent me where?
Here. Who sent you here?
We came together. Come on, let me drive you home.
Don't get in the car.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
David, what did I do?
Schizophrenia is a mental disorder that distorts reality. It affects the way people think, communicate, and express emotions, sometimes hearing voices.
Hey, how was your date with Jane?
Don't tell her, stupid. She's nosy. You hate her.
It's none of your business, Mom. Leave me alone.
Okay.
Get her out of here. You're in danger. They're at the window.
David. David!
Go to bed.
Don't yell at me.
Leave him alone.
I'm going to speak with your father.
Mom.
I'm here for you, David.
Scene 4, on the phone.
I think he's on drugs.
What? What do you mean he's on drugs?
He's been acting strange for the last 2 weeks. He stays up all night, every night. When I ask him about it, he tells me to shut up. He's angry, then sad, then happy.
All right. I'll talk to him as soon as I get home. I'll tell him to get his act together. Sherry, I have to go.
When do you get home?
Saturday. For now, just stay out of his way. I'll find out what's going on and we'll go from there. See you in a few days.
Scene 5, a ward at the hospital.
When I was diagnosed, my mom said to me, "Pull yourself up by your bootstraps." Thanks, Mom. Why didn't I think of that? She couldn't get her head around the fact that her kid had schizophrenia. Eventually, she did come around. It was right after she said to me, "My child cannot have a disease that I can't even spell." And I yelled, "If you think schizophrenia is hard to spell, try living with it."
Those with schizophrenia may have multisensory experience affecting all 5 senses.
You can hear my thoughts.
Come on, David, quit playing game.
Don't touch me.
David!
Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Everyone's talking to me. I have to get out of here.
David, look at me. I'm not going to hurt you.
Go. Go. Get away from me.
David, it's me. It's Jane. I'm not going to hurt you. Calm down.
Leave me alone. Stop it. Stop.
Excuse me, miss. Is everything okay?
I'm not right. Everything's distorted. Help me. Someone please help me.
Call an ambulance.
Scene 8, emergency.
This is EMT Johnson. We just arrived at the hospital.
What do we have?
30-year-old male, found him on the street. He was disoriented and combative.
Sir, can you tell me your name?
They already know who you are, David.
David.
Address?
They just want to follow you home.
Address, sir?
Address.
Address.
I live at 311 6th Avenue.
Do you know where you are?
The hospital. Why the hell have they brought me here?
Doctor?
I don't need a doctor. I need the police. There's these people following me. They're not going to help you. They want to hurt you.
Many have a difficult time functioning socially in school, at work, and at home, finding it difficult to distinguish the difference between what is real and what is imaginary.
Scene 9, waiting room.
What's going on? Where's David?
They just took him through those doors. He was on a gurney and he looked scared. Now I'm getting scared.
Okay, Jane, it's going to be okay. What happened?
I don't know. He's been acting weird. He'll be fine one minute and the next he'll just snap at me.
Has he been doing drugs at all?
Not that I know. I was late to meet him at the theater, and when I got there he was acting weird. He was just standing there looking frightened and muttering noises. Nonsense. I barely recognized him.
Schizophrenia is often misconstrued as a split personality or multiple personality disorder. It's actually a psychosis that may include hallucinations, delusions, or many other reality-altering symptoms.
Sometimes I think I can read minds.
Hey, those are the fun ones. It's the times you think you're being chased by wild animals or the devil is talking to you that's really scary.
Well, they don't know I have it for sure. It could just be a phase. I probably just need some rest.
Yeah, probably. Hey, wanna play some cards?
Sure, you deal. Are the cards all there?
It doesn't matter. Nobody up here's playing with a full deck anyways.
Scene 11, Sherry and Bill, 1 week later.
His brain is misfiring, but his doctors can help him with medication.
What medication?
I don't know, Bill. I don't have all the answers. No one does.
I once had a doctor describe it like being like a grandfather's clock. When you're good and the symptoms are in check, you're just sitting there. Your pendulum is gently rocking back and forth. But sometimes, out of the blue, something will wind you up and your pendulum will start taking great big swings that you can't control. For me, it feels like I've got one foot in reality and the other one, I don't even know where the other foot is. When I don't feel well, it gets harder to tell the difference between my conscious and the voices. The voices get so loud sometimes that they block out the sound of my conscious. It's like the pendulum gets stuck to one side and it won't budge.
You're not burdened anything! You are such a burden!
Stop!
You want to know what happened next? Sorry, I don't want to give away the ending. Besides, what happened next really isn't my story to tell. Why don't you ask him yourself? He's right here. Meet my new friend.
My name's David. I'm with a group from the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta. I've been an outreach worker for the past 3 years. I'm also part of a support group for people with schizophrenia called the Adult Peer Support Group. You should come. You'll meet some of the most creative people I know.
Hundreds of performances later, Starry Night continues to educate, encourage, and impact audiences across Alberta.
Well, I'd love to stay and chat, but Jane and I are picking out centerpieces and invitations today. Schizophrenia can be hell, but I'd take that over wedding planning any day.
Next, Patricia Pasemko challenges the status quo.
I'm asking you to imagine what a perfect place would be.
AMI Inside will return. This is AMI Inside.
I first had a stroke when I was 17.
Conference attendee Angela Simon was only a semester away from becoming a paramedic before a second hemorrhagic stroke at the age of 24 derailed those plans.
I lost a lot of the right side of my body. Not so much feeling, but just the movement. Some of the barriers that I found, employers looking at me and saying, like, I don't know if she can actually do that. I don't know if she can actually, and it was so much of them not knowing and them not willing to give me a shot to prove that I could do it, that it was frustrating.
Eventually, Angela found a position with Alberta Health Services, but as she and many others discover, the path to employment for the disabled is filled with many twists and turns.
How can we better serve people with disabilities to break new ground, reduce unemployment?
Patricia Pasemko is the Executive Director of On-Site Placement, a not-for-profit charitable organization that assists people with ongoing medical conditions or disabilities find and keep work. Here, she presents Challenging the Status Quo.
As a community, we can do more with the same dollars and resources available to us today. The question is, how? So let me show you and tell you about my vision. We have to lean on each other. We have to lean into each other. We have to move closer. We have to work smarter, share our pieces of the pie. The vision I have is a hub where an individual can walk into that building and get served by all the different agencies and meet all the requirements of that person. So as an example, today, an individual has to go into 5, 6, 7 different agencies. And it's scary and it's difficult. So the hub is just simply one building where someone can walk in and go and say, I need help with employment. Sometimes they need to do resumes, sometimes they need certification programs, training, just teaching. This hub would allow that individual to walk into one building and be serviced by all the different agencies and programs that are there. It reduces anxiety, it reduces the fact that I don't know, it reduces the fact that I'm not explaining my situation 6, 7 different times. There's no group or government that is focused on a holistic plan that supports clients and workers across all the services and agencies that need to achieve their goals. Imagine a type of concierge or navigation service that is responsible for helping a client prioritize and understand the best path forward and the most critical services based on a thorough and clinical assessment of their needs. And imagine, I'm asking you to step out of your box. I'm asking you to not think about your organization. I'm asking you to imagine what a perfect place would be. And imagine that this concierge would not wave a goodbye to the client after the assessment, but will instead stay with them on their journey, supporting them at all the different agencies and associations they work with. Now I know that this would have an impact on all the agencies. It would significantly impact the intake and assessment teams at each agency because ultimately the concierge or navigation service becomes a shared, whoa, that's a concept, shared intake and a shared assessment services for all agencies. We can't wait for the government to act. The progression of our industry is our responsibility. It's ours. Everyone sitting in this room and every association, every agency that is out there in the Edmonton and Alberta community, it's our responsibility. It's not the government's. Governments make change. They make it based on the response of the needs of the communities and the loudest cries that are heard. Can we consider establishing a shared service coalition that brings together representatives from the various groups and associations and societies that work to support our clients? I believe that a coalition like this can work to help set up a hub and a pilot program. People like to run pilot programs. Let's try it first. Let's see if it's successful. Let's see if it fails. Let's tweak it to make it successful. Rally the government to help fund it. They're already funding us. They're already providing funding for all and most of our programs. We want to put our clients in the middle of our network to ensure they are supported in the most thorough and thoughtful way, and ultimately create more successful outcomes. If there's anything I hope you will remember from our time together, I want you to remember this one thing. It is that while the governments of Canada and Alberta provide much of the funding for what we do, they are not the visionaries or the leaders of our communities. Our communities, all of us in this room, our communities must be led by our clients we serve, their families, people and organizations who serve them. It is up to us, every one of us, and for those that are not here, it's up to all of our community to carve out the path to progress for people living with disabilities. It's going to take all of us to stand up and be united. It's going to take a leader to say, this is what we need to do. It's going to take the other organizations to believe and trust in what we're doing. We're here for the client. We're here for the person who needs our help. We're not here for each of the individual agencies. We are here to help the person with that disability barrier be part of society, be the best that they can be, and do what they want to do best. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
I work with Spinal Cord Injury Alberta, and we're one of the organizations that I believe will be crucial to the spokes in the wheel and the hub theory that they have, where we all work and play together.
Conference attendee Edgar Jackson is a big supporter of this concept.
Pretty near all the nonprofit organizations in the city should be connected in one way or another so that we can not only work together, but we can benefit from each other's ideas. It'll be so much better for the community as a whole to have everybody on the same page.
Coming up,
do you have influential champions from many different sectors who are willing to come to the same table and work on an issue together?
the Tamarack Institute's Sylvia Chu explores the collective impact opportunity.
AMI Inside will return. This is AMI Inside.
Organizations need to let go and see that they can play a catalytic role in pulling things together, but they can't do it all.
Sylvia Chu works with the Tamarack Institute in Toronto, a registered charity that supports municipalities, nonprofits, and community leaders through on-demand coaching and consulting. She's come to the Accessibility Conference to present Exploring the Collective Impact Opportunity.
How do we make our issue matter? How can we tell our story in a compelling way? What are a handful of data points that we can put forward that make a compelling case, not only that ours is an issue that should be paid attention to, but that we're onto a way that we can make a big difference?
Collective impact is a way of working. It's a very disciplined form of collaboration that is intentional about drawing people together across sectors. And it came from looking at these projects that had been really successful in making big change happen on a bunch of tough, complex issues. What are the common ways that those projects are working that are different from the way many of us come at some of the challenges we face? The 5 conditions of collective impact. Across many sectors, we have a common agenda, which is a shared vision or aspiration for what we want to try and achieve together, and some agreement around how we're going to get there.
Groups got together and they all agreed on a common it that they were trying to address, common problem they were trying to fix.
The second is shared measurement, and what that's saying is we have to hold ourselves accountable as we're making this journey towards our shared vision. What are the measures we're going to pay attention to remind us and to let us know whether the experiments that we are trying are useful and working?
The measures that they keep track of are the things, the data points that they are going to monitor to tell them whether the experiments that they're trying are working or not working. Because otherwise they'll not know. It's just a guess.
The third is mutually reinforcing activities.
And what that says is important. It says this is not an organization that we're creating. This is like a network, okay? And that means that when you bring different players to the table, they're representing different organizations and different perspectives. We're not trying to make them all one big umbrella organization. What we're trying to do is say each organization in the partnership knows each other, knows what each other has, and knows where the gaps are between them. And that takes time to figure out. But it's how do we leverage the best of all of us working together, pointing in the same direction.
The fourth is continuous communication. So a lot of this is about how do we talk about the it that we're working on, talk about it in ways that people want to be part of it with us.
Our work is in service of community. Our work is in service of the people we are supporting, and what's the story that we are telling them about what we're learning, what's changing, what's getting better. That's the fourth.
And the last is called backbone support. And what this is about is saying these collaborative efforts that cross sectors, please don't create them into organizations.
We have lots of organizations. We don't need to create another one. This is about creating a way for the existing organizations to innovate together.
I like to think about it as a shared innovation space where partners from different sectors who care about the same issue can come and think together and say, what else, what more, and try some experiments.
Where we need to go next to really have this take off and make the kind of change that we needed to is to think in terms of building a movement. Yes, we need a common agenda, but it needs to be rooted in aspiration and hope for what the community is really wanting. We want shared measurement, but why? So that we're learning whether the experiments that we're making are effective or not. We need to have mutually reinforcing activities, but they better be focused on changing not just programs, but systems as well. We need to have authentic community engagement because we need folks with lived experience of these issues at the table helping to create the new solutions. And ultimately, this is about creating a container for big community change.
There are usually not one innovator working alone, but it's when these 3 distinct types of innovators find each other and link arms that big change happens. The first, the disruptive innovator, the passionate amateur, the person motivated by love. When that innovator, the disruptive innovator, can link up with the second kind of innovator, the bridging innovator, then things really can start to bubble. So a bridging innovator, often not always, can be a funder or like a social planning body. It's an entity with some credibility, and the individuals connected to it are very astute at being able to find and see emerging issues and opportunities that need attention and nurture and invest in them. And so the bridging innovator comes to this disruptor and acts somewhat as a coach, saying, you know what, all these stories, great, where's your data? Right? Really helps them bring more rigor to the passion in their hearts. Also coaches them when to tone it up, when to tone it down, right? And thirdly, leverages their own personal credibility and their networks and opens doors and gives credibility to the message of the disruptor. This is someone we got to listen to. This is someone who's onto something. There's something here that's really important. How do we start moving it forward? And then the last innovator, the receptive innovator. And I like to think about that person as the closet rebel within the organization, who knows that the way we've been doing things, same old, needs to get shaken up a bit. And that innovator does two things. Raises awkward questions, right, in and around the area that they have influence on, to get people feeling a little uncomfortable and wondering, oh, should we be doing anything about this drunk driving thing? Because, you know, we're seeing lots in the paper and what are we doing about it? What's our responsibility? You know, prompting those kinds of questions. But then also gives coaching on the sidelines to the other two disruptors, right? Saying, okay, you got to come and make sure you're ready to present to this board meeting. I'll get you an invitation to come here. I'll get you an invitation to come there. When those three people work together, that's when big change happens.
Coming up,
I have all kinds of documentation here, and the reality is you know the bill better than most parliamentarians. This is your lives.
next, a selection of panelists weigh in on Bill C-81, the Accessible Canada Act. Stay with us.
AMI Inside will return. This is AMI Inside.
It is about employment, built environment, procurement of goods and services, delivering programs and services, transportation.
Randy Boussant, Liberal MP in Ottawa, is one of 4 panelists taking part in this forum to discuss, answer questions, and provide information about Bill C-81, the Accessible Canada Act.
I have all kinds of documentation here, and the reality is you know the bill better than most parliamentarians. This is your lives. Human rights should be indivisible, universal, applied to everybody, and be accessible all the time. And the reality is that's not the case. And I know this as an openly gay MP, elected for the first time, first MP elected who's LGBT in Alberta's history to the federal parliament. And so I know that human rights shouldn't be pieces of pie that are just doled out. And quite frankly, everybody should have the full pie all the time. And so this bill is about modernizing and listening to persons with disability who have been telling successive governments that they want not just a full seat at the table, but that they want to make sure that we live in a Canada that's barrier-free. And so that's why the Canadian Accessibility Standards Development Organization is an important feature in this legislation, because we need a mechanism for people to let us know how to remove barriers where they exist. And I know you see them on a daily basis, but somebody designing policy and designing how a workplace looks in Ottawa may not have your lens. And so we need your colleagues, we need persons with disabilities in the Canadian workforce to help us do better. For me, this is about fundamental dignity. This is about equal access. This is about barrier-free government. It's about autonomy. It's about inclusive design and meaningful involvement.
Each panelist brought their own unique perspective to the discussion, including Megan Vandergiesen from the John Humphrey Centre for Peace and Human Rights.
I want to start by saying I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form on this bill or on human rights, but I'm certainly steeped in the tea of human rights daily with my work. And so I guess I'll bring you some of my own reflections, having read through a summary of the bill. The first thing that stands out to me is finally we're updating this bill and bringing it forward with some strength and some much needed changes. I guess there's one thing that I have learned in my years of doing human rights work is that these documents are really important. This legislation is potentially very strengthening, but our rights won't come to us. We actually have to grasp them. And for those who face barriers, grasping those rights is ever more difficult. So, you know, we have rights, but we actually have to make actions towards realizing them and making sure that they're protected for all. Otherwise, they just remain aspirational documents. Another thing that stands out to me is this idea of nothing about us without us. I want to see embedded in this new bill I see really important roles: an accessibility commissioner, chief accessibility officers. And I think we want to make sure that those are filled with positions of people with lived experiences, of people who, not another person who's a spokesperson for the community but is disconnected from the realities. I hope that that's really taken into account when we think about who is going to be filling these positions and who's going to have the ear and of the minister and the voice, be the voice of persons with disabilities. Let's make sure that lived experience is at the table and honored and not in a tokenized way. And that's really important, and that's what I hear and what I've learned working with the community. I've been thinking quite a bit about jurisdiction lately, because I know this is a federal bill and I know things like AISH are provincial. But in terms of what's protected under the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, adequate standard of living is protected. It is a right. And so when we see, for example, minimum wage go up in our province and that not being reflected in AISH, you guys know this reality, that's not providing an adequate standard of living. And for those who aren't able to engage in the workforce, that creates another gap. We're thinking about accessibility and we're working on any issues with community. Just make sure that those community members are front and center.
Next to speak is Mike Lake, Conservative MP from Edmonton, Wetaskiwin, who has a very personal reason for being part of this forum.
I have a 22-year-old son with autism. His name is Jaden. Jaden is, to describe him, he's like a 3 or 4-year-old in a 22-year-old's body. He's completely nonverbal, has trouble with abstract concepts, no concept of danger. He couldn't cross the street on his own. He loves dogs. If there was a German Shepherd right here and Jaden was here, Jaden would do all of the wrong things. He would squeal loudly, run directly towards the dog. He'd stick his face in the face of the dog because he loves the smell of the breath and the feeling of the tongue on his nose. He probably wouldn't get a tongue on his nose at that point. And he would reach immediately for the squishiest parts of the dog and squeeze them as hard as he could. So you can imagine how that would go for Jaden. Jaden's an incredible kid. We're missing out as a society because incredible people are not included. And we miss out on the opportunity to get to know those people, to have those people in our lives, to benefit from the incredible skills and abilities people have, because we just have no opportunity. We haven't made the effort to create an environment where they can be included. And so to me, that's what this legislation is about. It's kind of cool right now. We're in an environment where you've got every party supporting a piece of legislation. Believe me, that doesn't happen very often. It's the most important thing you can do, is go to your individual member of parliament. So as you consider strategy and outreach strategy, one of the first pieces of advice that we would give is to go to your local MP, regardless of party. Encourage as many people as possible who are interested in the same issue to go to that MP as well. And you really do want people to understand how important this issue is.
There's a real role or potential role.
Working with the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, Steve Astay is well versed on Bill C-81, and he had some observations and questions for the panel.
I'm curious to know, what other mechanisms are there that we should be looking at to have some deeper conversations with MPs about things?
Stephen, I would strongly advise you and your colleagues to prepare a memo, to make sure it gets submitted in English and French, get it to the committee before your audience, and the committee members will read that submission. Tell us a story in your own words that will move hearts and minds.
Thank you so much for including us in your day today. Thanks.
It's absolutely imperative that this bill is incorporated into the fabric of Canadian life. The persons with disabilities throughout our communities, throughout our provinces, throughout our country, we need a voice.
The government is not a leader. They're not leaders. They're not visionaries. The people need to tell the government what we need, what we want. We need to make that change.
Bill C-81 is just one piece of the puzzle. It's not the thing that's going to make Canada, bang, the perfect place for people with disabilities, but it's going to be a game changer.
Society is healthy when everyone is included, when every citizen is appreciated for what they bring, when you come together and you feel like you're a part of something, that you belong. It empowers people, gives you some motivation, some tools, some inspiration, just to understand that you can move that needle on inclusion just that much closer to full participation.
Together, we hold the power to create change through effective strategies, tools, and action as we continue to move forward toward full inclusion and accessibility in Canadian society. For everyone at AMI Inside, thanks for watching. Producers: Tim Tester, Linda Blackwell. Videographer: Tim Tester. Editor: Tim Tester, Manuel Grados Andrade. Narrator: Melissa Keith. Integrated Described Video Specialist: Simone Cupid. Audio Post: Mark Phoenix. Created by Rebecca Ellison, Kelly McDonald. Post-Production Supervisor: Janice Civitilli. Director, Production: Kara Nye. Director, Programming: Brian Perdue. VP, Programming and Production: John Melville. President and CEO: David Arrington. Copyright 2019, Accessible Media, Inc.